stage as European leaders are poised to give a mammoth donation to Ukraine.
Up to £100 billion of frozen Russian assets is set to be released in the coming days, with the Prime Minister marking this moment as a critical stage in ending the war.
Whilst Keir Starmer welcomed President Zelensky, the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz and President Macron of France to 10 Downing Street yesterday to host a coalition of the willing meeting, with all leaders hopeful that a deal to provide more financial support to Ukraine could come into force before Christmas.
Well, with peace talks between both the Ukrainians and the US over the weekend, could these efforts be enough to end 4 years of conflict?
Well, joining us now in the studio is Deputy Editor for Spiked Online, Fraser Myers. Very good morning to you, Fraser. What do you make of this?
Well, I think, this could be an important effort to give Ukraine some backing, because obviously the United States is leaving it to Europe, punting this over to Europe, saying this is your problem to deal with. And I think Europe has struggled a little bit with that. Europe has struggled to find both the financial means and also the military means in order to back Ukraine. There's a lot of great rhetoric on the side of the Europeans, but we actually haven't seen much action. Could this be some help? I hope so. But, at the end of the day, Europe has been sidelined in this process. That's a reflection of Europe's weakened position here. The Americans and the Russians are in the driving seat.
Well, there's no doubt about that. Certainly President Trump is taking the lead on this with his bombastic style of negotiations. But if this, as Sir Keir Starmer seemed to be alluding to, this access to £100 billion of Russian assets does actually get agreed. It's not been agreed thus far. That sounds like it would be a game changer. The money that could provide for arms, the money that could provide for the rebuilding of Ukraine.
Yeah, and it's money that is sorely needed, not just for arms. There are fears that without this kind of cash injection, Ukraine could be running out of money by, certainly the war effort could be running out of money by the spring. Rebuilding Ukraine, as you suggest, many cities have been absolutely levelled by this destruction. There's some debate over how the money will be used still. There are some European countries that say it should be perhaps earmarked for the reconstruction rather than for a renewed offensive. Certainly, it could change things, but it's not over the line yet. We still have Belgium in particular, because actually the lion's share of the money is being held in Belgium in Euroclear, one of their clearing houses. They are very worried about this. They're worried not only that it puts a target on their back, that they could invite a direct war with Russia by doing this, but also they could be sued and actually could be liable to have to cover some of this cash, which to them is about a third of their GDP. So it's not a small amount of money.
But Fraser, big questions remain. Big questions over security, big questions over Ukrainian territory and whether they should give that over to Russia. Also, does Russia even want peace? It looks like it's preparing for more war, not less.
Well, this is the thing. It's what, hopefully you'd hope that the Americans were reminded of this, that actually the big obstacle to peace is Putin and the Russians. They rejected a deal last week that was given to them, a deal that was seen as pretty favourable to Russia. So, there are obviously, of course, two sides of this conflict. Russia is the aggressor in this war. We shouldn't forget that. But, yeah, it seems that even they are not satisfied with the pretty favourable terms that are being given to them. Hopefully, perhaps an injection of cash might change things on the ground militarily, and that would be the thing that might change the game in terms of the negotiations. But, we are so long into this war, several years into this war, and it just feels as if Europe has never really stepped up to the plate in terms of really giving Ukraine its full backing. We haven't really increased our own defence spending. We have a land war in Europe, but that hasn't changed mindsets in Europe. We're talking about, in the UK, increasing defence spending to 3%, maybe at the end, not of this Parliament, but of the next Parliament, when Keir Starmer won't even be Prime Minister, let's face it. We are deindustrialising as a continent. We are just not in a position to back the warm words that the warm words of support that we are giving to Ukraine. And that should have changed in 2022. Something should have changed then, but it hasn't.
OK, Fraser Mars from Spiked Online, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us.
Thanks, Fraser. Now, at 7 minutes past 7, two teenagers